ones. Let's do
shapes.
Yeah, our air freshener shapes. So the shapes are actually, it's a material. It's an oil absorbing material. I'll see if I can bring it up. You can't see like the weave in the fabric and stuff like that, but these are actually fabric. It's very stiff, but it's, it's,
so that's a thick. So we have a couple different shapes and sizes and everything. This is a thick one, so it is a lot more.
Right. And these absorb an insane amount of oils. We also carry just like a basic square shape. We usually have an 8.5 by 11 too.
Yeah, you can see the thickness a little bit. So this is the thin one, or this is the thin one. This is the thick one. So you can see the difference between them.
So this is actually a fabric that absorbs oil. And it's very, very good for this. It's made from all recycled fibers and stuff like that and everything. So once it absorbs the oil, it doesn't really let it out either. So you probably bought those little tree shape air fresheners, a bunch of times for your car and stuff like that. So this is basically the same thing. These are just uncolored, unscented, just like everything else we have, uncolored, unscented, because that's the fun. That's your fun to do. So we have all different kinds of shapes and stuff like that. You can, to decorate these and to make them not so white. I mean, white's cool too, but a lot of people put their business names on them. They'll use them as promos. They'll do business cards and stuff like that.
Especially, so like do a pop carry jars, like a little pop carry air freshener with your name on it. It'd be super cute.
Yeah, and you can send it with like your candles at your thing, so people aren't like opening your candles and poking them at your show.
That's true. You can have it. Yeah, you can have it there for samples and stuff too.
Exactly. Christine's dropping them all over, so they're very durable.
There's a few of them.
They last through dropping. So anyway, so these are really, really easy, and they're fun too. You can decorate them a bunch of ways. You can, obviously paint on them. You can paint with acrylic paint. You can paint with like watercolor paint, stuff like that. To get them painted, you can sponge paint them, you can brush paint them, you can, watercolor, like water ink them and stuff like that. So you can Sharpie marker them. You can,
printers. We asked about printers.
Yeah. So if you have one of those flat feed inkjets, I don't know if they make those anymore. By what I mean by flat feed is where you put the paper in the back and then it feeds through the inkjet and shoots out the front. So it's kind of hard to print on these if they have to roll around an inkjet.
They're thick, so they don't necessarily do all the weaving of the paper.
Right. So you can print on them too. You can rubber stamp on them. So you can get different rubber stamp on them. You can also use, since it's a fabric, you can use t-shirt transfer material. You can print off anything you want on t-shirt transfer and then just iron it on.
I have a very important question. So if you're doing any of these things, do you put the fragrance oil on before or after you do this?
Well, that's an excellent question. So I always recommend doing fragrance oil last.
Okay.
Because fragrance oil doesn't usually, make your design or anything go crazy or anything like that. But
it's not water, right? It's because it's oil.
Exactly. But if you put the oil on first and then try to paint on it, this, that, or whatever, the oil will disperse it and then make your design go goofy. So I always put the fragrance on it last, especially, if you're doing things like you just want to have a bunch of shapes, say you're doing your business card on it and you're just giving out samples, just kind of like smelly samples. If you have a store, you're giving out smelly samples, or at your craft, any craft shows or whatever, you're giving out samples. You can put the scent, like whatever scent is featured that week. If you want to feature a scent, scent of the month. This is our Christmas specials, that type of thing. You can really make it fun. A lot of people.
I didn't even think about doing business cards on that. That'd be awesome to have them like that.
I've seen people actually use that as their candle packaging. So on the outside, they'll have like the fragrance on it and stuff like that, and their name and this and that, and they'll tie it onto their jar.
Okay.
And that way people can smell it without opening the candle. So anyway, it's pretty cool. Yeah. So there's a lot of different things. We go through thousands and thousands of these. So we go through about a pallet a month of this material. So these are very popular.
Primitive stars, especially. I know we have a lot of big customers for these.
Exactly. So you can, you can customize these. So you can punch them in different shapes. If you get the square ones and stuff, obviously you can decorate them, cut them out like different Sizzix cutters or Cricut cutters or anything like that. You can cut them in different shapes. A hole puncher will punch a hole in the top if you want to hang them. Very easy to do that way. And just customize them with however you want. So they're pretty cool.
All right. The best way to put fragrance oil on them.
So the best way to put fragrance. So after you've, made them all pretty and stuff like that, customize them how you want. Best way to put fragrance oil in is, I find, to spray it on. So you don't want to dip it. So if you take this and you dip it or lay it in the fragrance, it's going to put too much on there, right? it's going to have so much on there that it may not absorb fully, because it's kind of like a sponge. It's like a fabric sponge, so it's only going to absorb so much before it kind of doesn't absorb anymore.
Out, yeah.
So then you might have something that's oily and everything, right? You don't want it to be oily. You want it to be dry to the touch. So you want this to like super absorb the fragrance oil inside. So spraying it on using a pipette. Spraying's a little better because it's more finely dispersed, whereas a pipette will just kind of, spray it in there. So, are you going to do it?
I want to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have smoked saffron, because that's like fallish.
Mm-hmm.
I was using it earlier
that's
for
a
the
good one.
hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
I didn't want it, so.
That's a really good
All right,
one.
we'll see how this.
Oh gosh.
Oh, I'm doing the
Stand
camera.
back, folks. She's getting dangerous. I mean, you could hold it a little closer too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
So when
can
you
see
first
it.
spray it on,
See
you
on
see
there?
it's kind of. Can you see it's kind of
I don't know,
shiny?
it's like there. Yeah.
I don't think our light's picking up, but
Yeah.
it's kind of shiny, but it absorbs right away. So at first you see it sitting on top,
Might be able to, there's the color difference. So it
but
is
then it
turning
absorbs
somewhat
right
yellowish.
away.
Yeah.
Oh, keep that in mind too. So if you have a colored fragrance
Right.
oil, it might color the shape a little bit. So if you're working.
Do I do
with it,
more? How much do I do?
So you do both sides. So you
Okay.
spray one side, you spray the other side.
There we go.
Spray
I
yourself.
sprayed my fingers a little.
Yeah. And then just let it sit for a little bit. If it's you can spray like 2 or 3 times. It'll keep absorbing. You don't want to spray too much. Otherwise, again, it'll saturate and then it won't absorb anymore. So then once it's done, I give it probably like 24 hours for it to absorb all the way. It shouldn't be wet on the outside. It should feel perfectly dry for you. But then you kind of want to seal them up and lock in the fragrance. So when you package it, I would recommend, we got our bags out front there.
You could shrink wrap too, right?
Yes, you can shrink wrap these or a cello bag. Just take a cello bag and you can do like an impulse sealer on it, or just fold it over in some type of airtight. That way it's not going to be,
Locks in the smell.
it locks in the smell and stuff like that. And then when people open it, they're like, oh my God, that's so wonderful. So
Yeah.
you
You know,
just
like
kinda
when you've
wanna lock
gotten
it in.
the tree air fresheners, and then when you first come up, you're only supposed to keep the bag on and open them a little bit.
Right.
Otherwise, it's like,
Right,
it's like
yeah.
same type of
Yeah.
concept.
Same
Too
concept,
much
yeah.
in a small space.
Yeah, less is more type thing. So these are pretty inexpensive too. So, I mean, they start out at like 99 cents a piece, but we have bulk discounts past that
Right.
and stuff. And I'm seeing people sell them anywhere from like $3 to $5,
Wow, that's pretty
especially for
profitable,
custom
yeah.
ones and stuff. Think about it. Like if you do custom ones, print out somebody's picture of their baby or whatever, baby's first Christmas, and make tree ornaments from them or
That's true.
something
Yeah, you
like
don't
that.
have to necessarily send them either. So.
Yeah, you don't have to
For
scent
that.
them or
Yeah.
scent them pine or whatever. And you can refresh them. So even if I've had these, because I did print pictures on and use them for like Christmas ornaments and stuff like
Put on
that.
the baby.
Yeah, like your baby pictures. We should have brought that out to show. She was the cutest baby. Anyway, so you can rescent them every year. I scent it like pine because we have a fake tree and I like the real pine smell.
That's true.
So,
You do miss that one.
yeah,
Big
so it's
trees.
just something that I can scent on my tree along with my beeswax ornaments, which are amazing. So, yeah, scent them in pine. So you can refresh them and stuff like that too. I feel like you might not be able to refresh them more than 2 or 3 times. So.
Yeah, I would say like that. Just wondering, like, could you sell them and then sell like a little refresh kit with it?
Oh, that's a great idea.
So
Yeah,
it's like a
I
gel
have
type
seen
of
people do
thing?
that. Yeah. So you can package a little bit of the fragrance oil with it and stuff like that, and get a little bit more money too. So this
Right,
is that.
exactly.
Maybe get $8 or $9 or $10
Right, because
for
it
the
lasts a
kit.
little
So
longer. So.
that's a great idea. So yeah, that'd be a super cute little kit too. All packaged
Right?
together
Yeah,
and
it'd
stuff.
be
So
really cute.
yeah,
Put it
yeah,
in like
that's
a
fun.
festive bag, like
Yeah.
a Christmas themed
Something cool
bag
looking,
or
so.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
All right.
So that's our air freshener shapes, or stinky paper, whatever you want to call it. So